Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star 2, Land of Origin based on novel. So let's start. Inside the Star Tower, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, and a strand of primal chaos divine power instantly transformed into an exceedingly tiny black octodecahedron, which also bore the patterns of the primal chaos laws on its surface. Luo Feng felt that this black octodecahedron was like an extension of his own arms and legs, his consciousness able to permeate it. He could not help but reveal a look of joy. The 6 species of primal chaos layer creatures that I've collected, I have finally mastered the second type. Whoosh tilde tilde tilde. With a casual wave of his hand, Luo Feng sprinkled a large amount of divine power, which transformed into numerous black octodecahedrons, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 1 billion, 180 trillion. The number transformed and evolved was exactly the same as the previous silver droplets creatures. When 180 trillion black octodecahedrons were completely combined, Luo Feng also felt a sense of perfection. These primal chaos layer creatures are quite similar, Luo Feng thought. Perhaps those naturally born with primal chaos realm strength are fundamentally different from them. It's a pity that those strongest primal chaos layer creatures were already captured long ago. Whoosh! After the fusion of the 180 trillion black octodecahedrons, they were like a dark, black mountain, stable and unshakable. Rise, thought Luo Feng, and immediately, 10 silver blade lights appeared, violently striking the black mountain. The black mountain, as though harboring an endless abyss within, naturally absorbed the limitless impact force, without moving an inch. Not even the 10 silver blade lights could shake it. Just as I anticipated, its defense is very strong. Luo Feng conducted test after test. After a long time, Luo Feng was quite satisfied. The previous silver droplet transformation method, setting the benchmark, serves as the base. This black octodecahedron transformation method, although unsuitable for executing blade techniques, with only 30% of the power and 20% of the movement speed of the silver droplet transformation method, its defensive strength reaches 9 times higher, also having the ability to absorb enemy forces for a counterstrike. Defense, along with the ability to absorb and counterstrike. The first transformation method I've comprehended, the silver droplet transformation method, is thus named the Galaxy Transformation Method, Luo Feng thought, since 180 trillion droplets of silver indeed formed a silver river. The second transformation method shall be named the Black Abyss Transformation Method, Luo Feng mused. Each black octodecahedron containing space within, capable of absorbing and counterattacking with force. This also made them remarkably sturdy. Silver droplet creatures were already very resilient, but the toughness of the black octodecahedron was 9 times that. They are all scalable, and in black abyss form, they can form a protective robe, Luo Feng thought. The black mountain in the air quickly covered Luo Feng's body, transforming into a set of black robes. I can transform all into black abyss form using 10% of the divine power from my perfect divine body. Who then can harm me? With the black abyss robe on the surface, with the star tower maintaining primal chaotic space within, and surrounded by an endless silver galaxy. First, I'll study these 6 transformation methods. Afterward, I can go to the primal chaos layer, and collect more primal chaos layer creatures. Luo Feng was quite interested in these creatures. After all, they were naturally born, each basic unit of strength containing a life spirituality. To create out of nothing was exceedingly difficult. Yet, merely transforming, Luo Feng still managed to achieve it. He believed that as he studied more primal chaos layer creatures, the transformation methods would certainly improve. With dozens or even hundreds of transformation methods, accumulated experience may sooner or later allow creation of the most suited godly body for himself. Inside the city owner's mansion, at Luo Feng's separate courtyard, Master, you're out of seclusion. Morosa's telepathy detected Luo Feng's emergence immediately. One has to rest sometime, Luo Feng said with a smile. Achieving a transformation method was indeed no small feat, especially since each transformation involved creatures from the primal chaos layer with different internal structures and different life spiritualities. Go arrange some food for me, Luo Feng commanded, and then he picked up a jug of wine himself, which he carried with him. However, the food would need to be freshly prepared. I'll arrange it right away. While Morosa was affirmatively responding, he couldn't help but add, Master, there is something I must tell you first. Go on, Luo Feng said leisurely while drinking. Completing a transformation method felt truly fulfilling, and naturally, his mood was excellent. Moyu Qingyang, that lad, has already mastered the 10 fundamental laws and has become a true god of void space, Morosa spoke. Has he finally figured it out? Luo Feng laughed. With you, a great master personally guiding him, it took him so long to break through. It seems Moyu Qingyang's comprehension isn't considered very high. Morosa shook his head. It's not just not very high, his comprehension is poor. Compared to Master, far too inferior. Morosa, after all, had been with Luo Feng for a long time, and had witnessed Luo Feng's rapid growth. Luo Feng's progress put even him, a sector beast, under pressure. Compared to that, Moyu Qingyang naturally appeared utterly mediocre. He's already done quite well. Luo Feng chuckled. Master, are you planning to take him as a disciple? Morosa asked. According to what was said initially, mastering the 10 fundamental laws was just the first test. Luo Feng looked at Morosa with interest. Don't hold back, I know, you want to help Moyu Qingyang. Morosa laughed, heh. Actually, his long-term following us, and being with us day and night, is another test. A test of his true nature, Luo Feng explained. Over 3 decades of constant companionship is enough to understand his true nature. This Moyu Qingyang knows restraint, acts meticulously, and has also not used my name to recklessly gain benefits outside. With Luo Feng's fame in Huyang City, as one of his only 2 servants, Moyu Qingyang could have gained many benefits had he been greedy. When they were 3 brothers before me, I saw that this lad was the more down-to-earth one, Luo Feng reminisced. Back then, he had stated that he wouldn't provide any guidance, and without any guidance, see a thnovelfire.ne*t website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. In the land of origin, many true gods could spend their entire lives without comprehending the 10 fundamental laws. In such circumstances, Moyu Qingyang was still willing to follow. Even though he knew there were numerous dangers, Moyu Qingyang did not waver. His elder brother and third brother had both given up. At that time, Luo Feng had felt that Moyu Qingyang had a good nature, being the most steadfast of them all. So, Master, what do you mean? Morosa asked. Having spent over 3 decades together, he has also passed the test. Luo Feng looked at Morosa, but I sense that he should be closer to you at heart. How about, you let him take you as his master? Take me as his master? Morosa was startled. Your current status is that of a powerful eternal true god. Once I am strong enough in the future, you can naturally make a breakthrough to the primal chaos realm, Luo Feng said. To be his master is indeed sufficient. Morosa was indeed somewhat tempted. After all, after such a long time together, and over 3 decades of careful teaching, he naturally developed feelings. Forget it. Morosa shook his head, and telepathically communicated to Luo Feng. In the early stages, I need to be very careful, not to reveal any sharpness. Even if I grow to the pinnacle in the future, having a sector beast as a disciple is not exactly a prestigious status. But Master, you are different. You will be a guest elder in the flame-wind ancient country, your future status will be more noble, and your strength greater. Plus, your identity is reputable, being your disciple will bring him far greater benefits. Luo Feng was a normal cultivator, and even though some of the top inheritances in Flame Wind ancient country had high thresholds with various checkups and screenings, there was nothing to worry about. But it was different for Morosa. The detailed checkups and screenings, even those that could delve deep into the body, would find that Morosa's body contained a realm within it. Therefore, he was destined to keep a low profile. You really are considering everything for his sake, Luo Feng looked at Morosa. I'm tired of mentoring. I've taught him for over 3 decades, it's been enough, Morosa couldn't help saying. Luo Feng looked on, feeling rather emotional. As a sector beast representing cataclysm, Morosa, after being enslaved at the soul level and fully suppressing his ferocity, interacted with other creatures, formed bonds, and experienced grievances. All creatures have a glimmer of life. Sector beasts, beings born with the power to control the destruction of the origin, are also controlled by that same origin, only knowing slaughter and destruction, ultimately leading themselves to destruction, Luo Feng thought. Perhaps being enslaved, seemingly losing freedom, actually suppresses their violence, giving them this glimmer of life. Sector beasts, born that way, seem to have their destinies already set. However, being enslaved could possibly allow them to escape that destiny. All right, since you won't take him, then I will take him as my disciple, Luo Feng said. Thank you, Master, Morosa exclaimed joyfully. Soon, Luo Feng publicly took a disciple, which was also the first disciple he took in the land of origin. Mo Yuhu's family, General Yue Wu, General Yonghu, and many high-status eternal true gods from Zhujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture, all attended the ceremony. Gao Wu Shui, Mo Li Feiyun, and Jiarong Qi also stood in a corner watching. Lord Luo he actually took Qingyang as a disciple. Mo Yuhu was very excited. Initially, he had exchanged his most valuable treasure, and a favor from Luo Feng for the chance for his son to become a disciple. Who would have thought that after a test lasting more than 3 decades, Lord Luo he would take a disciple? Lord Luo he is likely to reach the primal chaos realm. His own son Qingyang truly has ascended to the heavens in one step. He actually became a disciple so quickly. Mo Yu Lai Feng, the eldest of the Mo Yu family, felt happy for his brother, yet had mixed emotions. After all, such a great opportunity had been in front of him too, but he chose to give it up. Now his brother had successfully become a disciple. A young fellow, fortunate enough to take Lord Luo he as a master, the Dream Flower Tower master observed from aside, also very envious. Lord Luo he doesn't lightly take anyone under his wing. Up to now, there had been only one servant, Lord Luo Sa, and his newly accepted sole disciple, Mo Yu Qingyang. Disciple Mo Yu Qingyang, paying respects to Master. Mo Yu Qingyang formally knelt down in utmost respect. This scene was witnessed by everyone present. In the land of origin, becoming a disciple was an extremely solemn affair. The relationship between master and disciple could even surpass kinship ties. Once becoming a disciple, one was devoted to the master for life. If one betrayed the master, it would be scorned by all parties. After all, the grace of imparting teaching, guidance, cultivation resources, providing weapon secret treasures, and guiding the path of cultivation. A master's kindness towards a disciple was immense. To betray such immense kindness, what cultivator could be trusted? Who would dare employ him? Rise, Luo Feng said with a smile, looking at Mo Yu Qingyang. Mo Yu Qingyang stood up, feeling tremendously excited at the moment, as if he were in a dream. Congratulations, Brother Luo he, General Yue Wu and General Yong who both offered their congratulations from the side. This young one is still very naive. He needs to cultivate diligently, Luo Feng said with a smile. Mo Yu Qingyang stood to the side, glancing at Morosa nearby. In his heart, Mo Yu Qingyang even harbored the idea of taking Morosa as his master. Given the countless careful teachings over the years, he was very grateful. However, he kept this thought deep in his heart. The act of Lord Luo, he taking a disciple, was just a minor episode in the wars between the two great primal chaos prefectures. Time silently passed, and an era had elapsed. The Marquis of Zhujiang was also trying to find ways to visit various powerful beings, all who did not fear Marquis Liu Yin. However, he had not been able to secure any powerful allies. The land of origin housed a vast and frigid icefield known as the Tianji Icefield. Its expanse was so vast, it could rival the territory of the flame-wind ancient country. However, due to the harsh environment of this icefield, the number of cultivators was less than 1% of those in the flame-wind ancient country. In the Tianji Icefield, there were no kingdoms, only scattered powers. Huff. The Marquis of Zhujiang, in his transformed form, looked at the great icy city of Juefeng City before him. Juefeng City was also a large city, built entirely from ice, its population several times more than that of Huyang City. In the Tianji Icefield, only the city housed a numerous amount of cultivators. Outside, you could hardly see any tribes. The harsh conditions made survival difficult for tribes. At last, Great Saint Juefeng has come out of seclusion. The Marquis of Zhujiang had also received the message, and was visiting Great Saint Juefeng once again. Within the imposing city, at the center was a massive cave mansion, belonging to the city's master, Great Saint Juefeng. Marquis Zhujiang, please. An eternal true God attendant personally led the way, at the main gate of the mansion. Soon, they arrived at a grand hall. Come, brother Zhujiang, take a seat. A towering figure with dark green skin sat there, grinning and said, I've been in closed-door cultivation all this time, making brother Zhujiang wait for so long. Brother Juefeng's cultivation is the most critical matter, the Marquis of Zhujiang said with a flattering smile. He was seeking aid from beings no less than Marquis Liu Yin. This great Saint Juefeng, carefree and unrestrained, was also unwilling to join any kingdom. He occupied a major city on his own, ruling over millions of cultivators, content in his cultivation, yet none dared to provoke him. In terms of strength, Great Saint Juefeng was not inferior to Marquis Liu Yin, both being pinnacle existences in the primal chaos realm. In terms of background, Great Saint Juefeng had once been an honorary disciple under an emperor of the flame-wind ancient country, but given the intense competition that drew too many elites to the flame-wind ancient country, Great Saint Juefeng ultimately chose to leave and become a carefree chaos great saint in the Tianji Icefield. Ha ha, Zhujiang is always so pleasant to listen to, Great Saint Juefeng laughed, showing his teeth. Say, what brings you to me? The Marquis of Zhujiang put down his wine cup and then said, Brother Juefeng, my neighbor, Marquis Liu Yin, is presently scheming against my fiefdom. I've heard about your situation, Great Saint Juefeng nodded. Marquis Liu Yin is fierce and overbearing. It would be strange if he didn't bully you. The Marquis of Zhujiang's expression stiffened as he nodded, indeed. I'm not confident I can withstand him, which is why I'm here to ask for assistance. If Brother Juefeng is willing to help, just name your price. Great Saint Juefeng, holding a huge blue-golden wine cup, drank the wine first before saying, within your Yu Kingdom's borders, there are no primal chaos realm beings willing to help you, right? The Marquis of Zhujiang nodded, that's right. In our Yu Kingdom, there are only a few capable of contending with Marquis Liu Yin. Even our nation's ruler finds it difficult to mobilize them. How could I possibly persuade them? Of course, you can't persuade them. Great Saint Juefeng put down his cup. After enduring countless hardships to reach the primal chaos realm, who would want to risk their life for you? If you brought out treasures like godly king weapons as an invitation, you might be able to call for strong support. But do you have such treasures? I do not, the Marquis of Zhujiang admitted. Saying, just ask, while being unable to produce any actual treasures. Who would want to risk their life against Marquis Liu Yin for you? Great Saint Juefeng shook his head. Who is Marquis Liu Yin? He's inherently fierce, retaliatory, and at the pinnacle of the primal chaos realm, he might break through at any moment and step into the godly king level. Contend against such an existence with empty promises. Great Saint Juefeng scoffed. Zhu Jiang, you truly have mishandled this situation. Brother Juefeng, I know I can't offer many treasures, the Marquis of Zhu Jiang said helplessly, but this involves my fief, and I'm out of options. Your fiefdom has 3 large cities and 189 ordinary cities, Great Saint Juefeng said teasingly. If I help you protect your fiefdom, from then on, the residence fee of 2 large cities and 100 ordinary cities will perpetually go to me. Could you accept that? The Marquis of Zhu Jiang looked somewhat embarrassed. I only have Zhu Jiang City and a few ordinary cities left. A top-tier cultivator in the primal chaos realm could easily occupy a large city even without ambition. Was it worth it to compete with Marquis Liu Yin at all costs, only to be left with so little in the end? You see, you're reluctant to part with it. Great Saint Juefeng shook his head. The struggle for fiefdoms isn't a short-term conflict, it's a prolonged battle. It's about thoroughly offending Marquis Liu Yin to death. Without enough benefit, no one is willing to help you. Come on, let's stop talking about this and just drink. Marquis of Zhu Jiang could only drink his sorrow away. It had been one era. He had thought, with quite a few friends, maybe he could invite a powerful helper. But when it came to a life-and-death struggle with Marquis Liu Yin, he couldn't invite even one. Outside Huyang City. Whoosh! Blood-red flames coalesced, forming one of the avatars of Marquis Liu Yin. After the last battle in Huyang City, Marquis of Zhu Jiang must have realized that he can't win against the army of the eternal level. Marquis Liu Yin gazed at Huyang City from afar. So he has been going everywhere inviting friends to aid him. Marquis Liu Yin, too, had heard that the Marquis of Zhu Jiang had been requesting help from powerful figures in some places. One era, and Marquis of Zhu Jiang should have come to terms with reality. My guess is that he couldn't invite anyone, Marquis Liu Yin said confidently, a confidence built over many long years. He always acted in a brutal and overbearing manner. Even existences of the same level would need to carefully consider the costs of getting involved. Even if helpers are invited, a victory must still be determined, thought Marquis Liu Yin. His reason for waiting patiently was that, even if an army of the Eternal Level 1 and temporarily occupied 3 large cities, once Marquis of Zhu Jiang called in strong reinforcements, he would still have to descend into battle. It was better to wait patiently and see how the situation unfolded. Maybe Marquis of Zhu Jiang, realizing his own lack of strength, would completely lose heart, not daring to join the fight, and simply give up his fiefdom. Yang, Marquis Liu Yin transmitted his command. Father, Liu Yin, who was in the Heart Shadow Sect's residence within Huyang City, responded to his father's message. You can contact your senior brothers and sisters now, and also have the 2 envoys from the Snow Realm come over, transmitted Marquis Liu Yin. Once your senior brothers and sisters arrive and preparations are complete, we can go to war. I guess, this time, Marquis of Zhu Jiang will probably concede voluntarily. Yes, father, Liu Yinyang was overjoyed. ************* Within Huyang City. Cloaked in a blood robe, the young man, Liu Yinyang, received orders from his father and was overjoyed. He immediately contacted his senior brothers and sisters. The battle between Liu Yin Primal Chaos State and Zhu Jiang Primal Chaos State has reached its final moments. My father predicts that Marquis of Zhu Jiang, knowing he's not a match, will likely opt to concede, Liu Yinyang transmitted. I ask for senior brothers and sisters' support to jointly attack Marquis of Zhu Jiang's military formation. Master has already commanded, and we certainly shall assist. Junior brother, rest assured, we will come as fast as possible. Once the ancestral god of the Snow Realm nodded, the other two envoys of the Snow Realm were already prepared. As soon as Marquis Liu Yin summoned them, they naturally rushed to assist with the greatest speed. After the communication was cut off, Liu Yin Yang was quite excited. Young Master Yang, since the Marquis has said that Marquis of Zhujiang will voluntarily step back, it seems this battle will go very smoothly. The General Black Armor by his side also anticipated eagerly. What does Marquis of Zhujiang have to contend with my father? Liu Yinyang smiled. My senior brother and senior sister will soon be here. I need to prepare some food for them. Prepare food. General Black Armor's eyes lit up. He had followed the young master in his cultivation in the Snow Realm, and was very aware of what the so-called food was. Don't worry, you'll get your share too. Liu Yinyang glanced at his subordinate. Thank you, young Master Yang. General Black Armor was delighted. Liu Yinyang casually traced his hand, and a model of the Huyang city appeared before him. He looked at it and pointed to a certain area. Huyang city is teeming with cultivators. Here is the Fengyi district of Huyang city, home to roughly 100 billion cultivators. Offering them as food to my senior brother and senior sister should be presentable enough. Let's go. Liu Yinyang led his forces, together with the envoys of the Snow Realm, quietly departing the Heart Realm's residence. A single envoy of the Snow Realm could not defeat the army formation of Marquis of Zhujiang. But to merely protect itself, it was completely at ease. See a thnofire.et website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Even Luo Feng, who had shown his strength on the surface, could do nothing against the envoy of the Snow Realm. Whoosh! This envoy of the Snow Realm left the Heart Realm and headed straight for the Fengyi district of Huyang City. That young Master Yang left the residence. On the side of the Heart Shadow sect, the master of the Heart Shadow sect and the 18 elders quickly received the news. We just need to watch the city owner's mansion. The envoy of the Snow Realm comes and goes as he pleases, no one can threaten him, the master of the Heart Shadow sect instructed, and the other elders understood as well. They were not qualified to intervene with the affairs of that envoy of the Snow Realm. Whoosh! The envoy of the Snow Realm took only a few steps to traverse the void and arrived above the Fengyi district. At this moment, nearly all the cultivators in Fengyi district were hiding in their dwellings, not daring to go out and cause trouble. The entire Huyang city was gripped by fear and anxiety. The formation of the city owner's mansion enveloped the entire city, and the wave-like pulsations of the formations from the Heart Shadow sect also spread out. This terrified ordinary cultivators. I wonder how long this battle will last. No matter who takes command of Huyang City, we have to obediently pay the residence fee, so let's just survive through this storm. The entire Fengyi district, indeed housing about 100 billion cultivators, were all enduring patiently. At the moment, to leave the city meant potentially losing life to the colliding formation energies of the two major forces. While the residential area was still protected by the formation, it was at least a barrier against some of the residual energy. 100 billion blood food, the envoy of the Snow Realm, whose body was white as snow and wholly beyond compare, looked down below, stretching out his arm which rapidly grew to an immense size. The snow-white palm, covering the entire sky above the Fengyi district, reached for it. This significant commotion naturally drew attention from all sides. Whether it was General Yue Wu, who controlled the Grand Formation, Emperor Chu Yu of the Flame Wind Pavilion who observed the whole city, or Luo Feng and Morosa, who were at the level of primal chaos overlords, they all saw the scene. What is he doing? Morosa was shocked. The envoy of the Snow Realm. Luo Feng looked at the scene. The ancestral god of the Snow Realm had originally achieved godly king status through the bloodline of blood within the great Tao of life. Blood is indeed very mysterious. It contains endless information, and having a powerful lineage can greatly accelerate cultivation. Morosa, by absorbing information from some powerful lineages, could promote his own evolution. And the ancestral god of the snow realm had already thoroughly mastered the path of the bloodline of blood, even starting to cultivate other branches of the great Tao of life. To cultivate the secret techniques of the bloodline of blood, the cultivators of the snow realm were most keen on capturing blood food, an important resource for their cultivation. To capture all creatures in the entire Fengyi district. Again, to capture blood food. Luo Feng, who also contemplated the great Tao of life, was very clear that actually, collecting some blood could equally facilitate cultivation of the bloodline of blood. To capture directly and keep for long-term blood harvesting was purely for convenience. Those blood foods, kept for long-term blood harvesting, lived in abject misery, suffering far more than simply meeting death. He came here to seize blood food. Luo Feng shook his head lightly. He had already disappeared into thin air, making Morosa beside him surprised, then itching with anticipation. Master wishes to act, so he acts. When can I indulge so freely? Rumble tilde tilde tilde. The envoy of the snow realm, with the snow-white palm obscuring the sky of the Fengyi district, filled the 100 billion beings of the Fengyi district with terror. The residential area's formation was easily torn apart by the snow-white palm. No. It's over. Why go after us? We are just true gods. The 100 billion creatures had no power to resist and watched the scene in despair. Suddenly, plop! A palm came from the void, piercing the snow-white chest of the envoy of the snow realm. This video will end here.